Here we will discuss how we can use the US Census Bureau data to extract demographic information to look at certain social determinants of health that may play a role in the COVID-19 pandemic. Once we go to the US Census Bureau website, we will be using the advanced search function. When we get to the advanced search function, we will have to select certain criteria before getting to the topics that we would like to search. To do so, we will go to the years, and we are interested in the most recent data, so we will select 2018. Once we get to the geography category, our study will be looking at county level data. So we'll select the county level data, and then here we can select the states we are interested in. And once we have selected a certain state, we can select all the counties we would like to have information on. For an example, we will select a few counties here. Once we have selected all the counties from this particular state, you can even select a different state and look at other counties within the second state as well. By doing this, you can select as many counties from different states as you like. For this example, we will just use the particular states that we took from, particular counties we took from the states of California and Florida. Once we have made this particular selection, we will next go to the topic selection. What I would recommend students to do is make sure you select all the counties that you would like for your study so that you don't have to come again and do the same searches, but you will be able to extract all the data together. Once we have selected the geographic regions, we will get to the topic region. And now let's see what are the different topics we might be interested in. For this particular session, we will go through just 4 different topics or 3 main topics, and in other sessions we will cover other areas for our project. So the first data that we will extract will be population data, including age and sex data for each of the counties. So to do this, we will go to population and people, select age and sex, and the first table entry will be age and sex category, and the table number for this will be S0101. So let's see if we can obtain this table. Once you have selected the category, you can do a search. And as we can see, the first table that we obtained was the age and sex table. Here, it might be easier to use this tables tab since we are mainly interested in the tables. And this will help us identify if our table is not listed first. So the one that we wanted was the table S0101, year 2018, and we see all the data that's listed here. Once we have identified the table that we are interested in, and as we can see, this table will give us information for all the counties that we have selected for our search. Once we have identified it, we will go ahead and click on download, and we will select the table we are interested in. Once we do that, we can select download selected, and you get this screen. If they have data available from 1-year estimates and the 5-year estimates, they will allow you to select both. In our cases, when available, we will always use 5-year estimates. When it's not available, we will use the 1-year estimates. So we can deselect the 1 year so that we only obtain the 5-year estimates, and we will download the file as CSV files. Once that is ready, you can download the file and save it in a certain location. And as an example, I will show how I usually download these files. So I might put a category like a new folder saying we are looking at age, sex data or race data, poverty data, and then put this file in this particular folder. And I've already have a certain file here, but we'll just go ahead and save this one as well. Once the file is saved as a zip folder, you will see it, and you will see the components of the file like this. There will be a metadata sheet which will have the explanations of all the columns that are included in the dataset, and a dataset that says data with overlaps, and that will have the information that we are looking at. So let's first look at the data with overlaps folder. And you will see something like this. And for the age and sex file, it is a large file and there is a lot of data that we are not going to be using. So this particular stage I will do, and I will provide students a cleaner data set so that you don't have to handle the entire data set. But this will also help you know what I did to get to the cleaner data set that I will share. So if we look at the metadata sheet file, we will be able to know what each of those columns were. And what I did was I highlighted the columns that we are interested in. As you can see, we are interested in the total population, and we are interested in the population for each of the age categories. So under 5, 5 to 9, 10 to 14, all the way throughout. We don't want the margins of error, so I did not highlight them. And then once we go further, they had subcategories, but we did not want them. Then once we go even further, we get to the point where they will have data that are specific to males. So total male population, males under 5, 5 to 9 in all categories. And if you go even further, you will see the female data for the same counties. So I highlighted the data that we wanted, and then I opened up the the file that we had, and I did a simple search. So copying each of the key searches I wanted, see, I would copy that. I would go to this and do a search and highlight the columns that we are interested in. And as you can see in this folder, we highlighted a total of 57 columns that we were interested in. So once they were highlighted, I was able to delete all the columns that we were not interested in, giving us a data sheet that looked like this. It's still 57 columns are long, but it is much more manageable rather than the original data set. Now in this data set, we had data for the total, male and female in all of the categories. Next, I went ahead and divided them out to the simple category of total number population, males versus females, that gave us a percentage of males and females in each of these counties. And that was separated out. Next, I took all ages, not looking at male and female data, but looking at all the age groups. So we can see age under 5, 5 to 9, 10 to 14, and so on. We have that data set. Now, as you can see, it starts getting manageable with only 17 columns. Similarly, data for males, data for females. And once they've all separated out, I also created some tabs grouping these further. To group them out, rather than looking at all the categories, we are going to look at just just 4 different age ranges. Ages 0 to 19, so children, then 20 to 44, which would include the young adults, 44 to 60, which are middle-aged adults, and then we would have the older generation above 65. So to look at those categories, I did some calculations summing these age groups, bringing those subcategories further so it's much more manageable. By doing this, we were able to get into our 4 different categories that we already predetermined, and also find the percentages, looking at the total population and each of these categories, and get a percentage population as well. And this was done for both all age groups, males and females. And by using this data set, we were also able to then plot a graph like this. I will not discuss how to plot this graph in this particular video, but we will address this at a different time. So by doing that, we were able to obtain age and sex information from the US Census Bureau. Now let's look at the next category. We will also look at race and ethnicity data. Race and ethnicity data, they have many different surveys and identify this information in many different ways. There were two that I was particularly interested in. I am also not exactly sure which of these two we will eventually use. The distinction is the first set of data they have in the US Census Bureau under the file race that does not give us a category for Hispanic or Latino populations that is included in the other subcategories under white, under African Americans, Asians, and the other categories. However, there is another survey data that they have under Hispanic or Latino origin by race. So this particular category has the Hispanic population, but it seems like there might be a combination within the Hispanic population as well. For right now, we are going to use this data set. I will look into some other sources. I will speak to some other experts as well and see what's the best direction we can go. So to do this, we will again go back to the US Census Bureau. If you had already done one search, you can go ahead, close down the download, go back to the filters, and in the filters, you can get rid of age and sex. You can now go to race and ethnicity, which is the next group. Select the category race and ethnicity. And since we are already in a search, these data sets will automatically update in itself. So as you can see, this category has been updated. If you go down, you will start seeing the race data available here as well. So this is the first data set that I mentioned, the race data set. And here, as you can see, it's listed for all the counties we have selected. We have whites alone, black or African American, American Indian, Asian alone, Pacific Islanders, and other races. So Hispanic is not listed here, which could be a negative in this data set. So that is why we also have gone to the second data set, which is race and ethnicity, and look at the Hispanic or Latino origin by race. So let's look at that data set as well. We will still be under our race and ethnicity. It's a matter of going down a little bit further until we identify the right table. And in this case, it's B03002. Okay, so here we see the Hispanic or Latino origin by specific origins. And the one that we want is the one that's Hispanic or Latin origin by race, the B03002. And that's the one that we wanted. If you click on that, you will see data that is for not Hispanic. So we still have white, we have African Americans, American Indians, Asians alone, and then we have the Hispanic group as well. This is a distinction again between race and ethnicity and how those two terms are used as well. So once you select the particular data set you want, you will go to download, select that, and when you go all the way to the top, you can download the selection, and we will use the 5-year estimates. So once you have downloaded that, you will get a data set that looks like this. In our case, for the second data set, we got all the data as we can see seen right here. When we looked at the metadata file, let me See, so we see all the data like this. I went ahead and highlighted the ones that we wanted. So in this case, we wanted the total population, um, the white population, African American population, American Indian, Asian population, and so on, including the Hispanic population. So once I have selected the categories I wanted, we were now able to go back to this data set, highlight them, delete the regions we don't want, and get an all data set which looks much cleaner. And after doing this thing, we went ahead and categorized them even further to the categories to be whites, Hispanics, African Americans, American Indians, Asians, and other. So as you can see, some of the smaller groups were categorized under the other group. So using this data set, we will now be able to plot a graph that will look something like this. And how to plot this will be discussed in a different video. So the last item we'll speak for today is going to be looking at income and poverty data. The idea here is to look to see, are there differences among counties, and looking at the poverty level. How many individuals are living at the poverty line, and how many of them are much higher than the poverty line. To do this, we will use the data that will look at uh, a ratio between the income of an individual or family compared to the poverty level. So if it's less than 1, they are living under the poverty line. 1 to 2 is just above the poverty line, and we have categories all the way going to having incomes that are more than 5 times of the poverty line. To do this, we will go to income and poverty, select poverty, poverty, and we will look for the table that says ratio of income to poverty level in the past 12 months. So we will close this down, go to our filters, remove the race and ethnicity column from there, go to income and poverty, select poverty again, and that should populate our graphs right here. And as you can see, there is 130 results. And if you scroll down, we will find our graph, which is going to be B17002. And we see here B17002, which is the ratio of income to poverty levels. And you see the data set is given for the counties that we selected. Once we have this, we can go to the download function, select the item you're interested in, and download the selected. Here, as you can see, we only have 1 year estimates, so we will be using that for our study. And once that is downloaded, we will have the poverty information that will look like this. And in this particular sheet, we will also go ahead and select the categories that we are interested in, only the estimates. We don't want the margins of errors. And once that is used, we will be able to get our all data set that will have the categories that we are interested in. And then we will go ahead and further categorize these into the 5 categories we are looking at. Less than, below the poverty line, slightly above, and with increasing levels to up to more than 5 times the poverty line. Once we use these data, we will be able to get some graphs like this.